when I started out, I was super frustrated because in my head, I didn't feel like I was contributing a lot because of course there's already concept there. One of the biggest hurdles siguro, I actually got burnt out directing. The fact that I felt that reminded me I might have to step back and reevaluate how I'm doing things. Know yourself more. Because your job as an artist is to make sure your voice is heard. But how can you put out your voice if you don't know what your voice sounds like yet? If you can remove internal pressure of trying to do something and achieve it in a certain timeline, that will just give your focus towards just doing this because you love doing it. So if you remove all of those expectations for yourself, you can create now freely.
Guys, welcome to the show. Direk, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
For the people who might not know you yet, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of your backstory?
My name is Kani. I am a director. I am represented in Asia with PPC Directors Agency as a commercial director. And yeah, I've been doing this shit for 10 years. I got my start doing hair. That's my first ever paid gig. Like one of the profs saw me and siguro with like the slick back pomade hair, dati, yung uso. And he wanted me to do it for the models that were coming in for a photo shoot or for a video shoot, I think. And I remember doing that, and I was taking that I took that super seriously then, like doing hairstyling work. And I think naturally that's what got me into trying out being in production. I was already doing film. I was already in first year in film. So naturally, I was already interested in the aspect of joining production and sets. Pero my gateway to it was doing hair.
Mm-hmm. And at what age ka
16.
16.
16. So
college, no? Parang,
college. First year college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, what age ka nag-transition na maging director?
Directing, I believe, around 17 or 18.
Wow.
Kasi, if I remember correctly, within 16 to 17 or 16 to 18, I've always wanted to be a cinematographer. That's the first thing na I was actually practicing for, kind of learning for. But directing was kind of something that wasn't in my headspace at that time. Pero trying it out, siguro when I was 17 or 18, was something that clicked instantly. The first music video I directed, I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life.
But what sparked your interest in filmmaking?
I think it's definitely my family. Kasi one of the hobbies na ginagawa namin in the family with me and my parents, my brothers and sister, we every weekend or every Friday, I remember, we go to these yung dati pa yung pwede kang mag-rent ng DVDs or VCDs.
Ano ba Video City?
Yeah, mga ganun. So we go to those. It's, the place that we go to is called Nirvana. It's in Mandaluyong. So we go to that every weekend, and that was our parang bonding time as a family. We would rent a movie, we would all watch it all together. And naturally, that introduced me to really great films. And when I was young, I got to watch movies like The Godfather or parang Sleepless in Seattle, all of those like parang great films. And naturally, that's what got me into the arts in the first place. I think that sense of inspiration, I was already exposed to good films. I mean, Godfather wasn't supposed to be something you're supposed to be watching at that age. But again, like, it sparked who I am today. At the same time, it inspired me to parang tell stories, basically.
So yun yung parang naging early influences mo?
Yeah, as a director, I would say, yeah. I believe na it's... And also, I think, coming to think of it, one thing rin is my family is fascinated with the aspect of always trying out new gear. I remember my dad always buying, like, cameras, and we always have, like, other cameras there. And I even found old footages of me trying out those cameras na ako yung nagpa-film, ganyan. So maybe there was something instinctly there when I was younger. So I think that's one of the things that kind of helped me parang try out this directing thing.
Pero like, what was the moment na like parang, oh shit, ang ganda nito. Like, I want to create films like this, ganun.
Yeah, I think it was it was definitely my first directing gig. That was the first time na I told myself na I want to direct talaga. Because before that it was just I always knew I wanted to be in the arts, but I was confused to what am I gonna do in the arts? Because I was also into music. I was also into at that time I was doing a lot of like graphic design work in high school. So I was a little bit I was putting my chips in every little thing I could get into. So directing wasn't really something that I was thinking of until I got to try it. Yeah.
And what was that first project?
Oh, I think it was a music video for one of my friends. One of my high school friends wanted to do a music video. I remember that was definitely nerve-wracking because it's being a director, especially during your first times directing, you feel this undeniably this level of pressure that's on you because of first you're technically trying to fulfill a vision and trying to get everyone on board to that, and at the same time trying to fulfill your artist's vision because it's a music video, so you kind of don't want to give the song justice then. But I remember I had so much fun because, of course, I was doing a lot of things that were wrong because it was my first time. But I knew that I had so much fun because right after that, I edited the material. So parang I was like, so that was already a sign for me na I want to do this. This is one thing like I can keep on doing.
Like when you saw that final output.
Yeah, definitely. I remember when I saw the final output, I was super proud. But then maybe it's that yung parang perfectionist in you na, we should have done this differently. Yung mga ganyan. Pero definitely I was proud because it was my first directing gig anyways.
Can you tell us what is the difference between a commercial director and a film director? Para sa mga ano lang. Kasi may difference siya, right?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe the on-the-nose explanation is film directors create films. So parang full-length film, short films. That's the nature of being a film director. And as a commercial director, you're responsible to create branded content. So these are types of videos that you would see on TV to advertise a certain product, a brand, or a person. And both are really living in different worlds, even though they have similarities to it. Like the aspect of directing is something that's pretty unified in terms of what to do for it. But there are huge differences, like even the level of time that you have or duration to tell a story, kumbaga. Kasi both are still telling a story, no matter if you're selling something or not. Both are trying to tell something pa rin. Pero big differences, of course, is you have an hour to build out your character for a film. And with commercials, you're only given, 15 to 30 seconds? So it's a different level of art form rin. And I'm trying to tell something within those times rin. So I feel like that's the major difference. And of course, how much people are involved in both aspects rin. Kasi in film directors, you have the distributors, the different producers involved at the same time. If you have a production company that's backing you up, so there's that rin. But with advertising, there's your production house at the same time as your agencies that you work with and your brand. So there is a difference there, and the workflow is really different. The other one is more time constrained, which is advertising.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, natatawa kami. Bakit? Like, tingin mo, like, bakit ganun ka-konti yung time constraint when it comes to advertising?
I honestly don't know, but my theory is because they have to do a lot of things rin.
Totoo naman.
So, kunyari, let's say I'm a brand, I have this commercial to shoot within this month. I'm already planning the next couple of months as well. So, everything is pretty much limited within time. So, yeah. And also, actually, coming to think of it, yung time constraints na yun is something I've enjoyed already at this point. Before, I've dreaded it na parang they only gave me 2 weeks to do this or 3 weeks. 3 weeks is actually good. Pero 2 weeks to do this or a week. But ngayon, coming to think of it, I enjoy those little gaps of time because it allowed me to do my work faster. And I believe I found a way to do it efficiently as well. I mean, as a director, siguro, you're preparing the concepts, you're preparing the boards, ganyan. In that sense, in my role, I could prepare that within the given time of like 2 weeks, ganyan, or 3 weeks. So, ngayon I actually prefer shorter
Period,
timetables than longer ones ngayon.
It's also an art form, right? So how do you balance the need for artistic expression with the commercial goals of the clients?
Like when it comes to like yung project mismo, like having my own taste
Yes.
on it. Siguro before when I started out doing commercial directing, I was super frustrated because in my head I didn't feel like I was contributing a lot because of course there's already concept there, there's a board already, the advertisers know what they want. So in a sense, why are you there in the first place? And the longer I've been working as a director, as a commercial director, the more that I realized that is how you operate your job, finding those tiny pockets where you can influence your own artistic expression. So let's say there's a given brief of you trying to sell this beverage, ganyan. And the concept is basically the girl picks up the beverage because she's thirsty. There's a million ways to do that. And that's one thing I didn't realize before. That no matter how much limitations you have to attack a certain brief, there is a million ways to approach it. May it be a new cinematography style, a new narrative style of like, should it be linear? Should it start by using the end sequence as the first sequence? So may mga ganun na little pockets of levels of expression that you could do. And siguro balancing it rin is the art form itself. Like that's what I believe because again, as a commercial director, it can't be purely your vision lang because the brand is already existing for a reason. The advertising agency has their own take on it as well. So your job as a commercial director is to get all of those influences and use that as a sense of how do I meet them all in the middle but still putting my own flair in that and putting my own voice in that. And I feel like the most successful commercial directors found their ways on how to actually do that. So the art form itself are those limitations.
Yeah. Kasi yun yung sinasabi nila about freedom eh. Like yung creative freedom.
Yeah.
You can't have too much creative freedom.
Totoo. That's very true.
Because it could be anything,
Yeah.
right? Actually, nung nagsimula din ako, kala ko if you have creative freedom, mas maganda. Kala ko tama yun. Not only nung nakakuha na kami ng sunod-sunod na opportunities, dun ko na nare-realize na ang hirap pala nun kasi nga, you're putting your artistic expression but at the same time, it's not hitting anything.
That's true. Yeah. Also, you'll just get burnt out. For me, what allowed me to still keep on doing this, even though you've done it for a while, is the aspect of how to keep yourself from burning out. Because having so much artistic freedom is great. It's great. Like I'm not knocking on that. But if it's going to be your work, that's one thing where you need a little bit, you have to give yourself a little bit of guidance and limitations rin. Because when it comes to artistic freedom, especially working in the commercial industry, you never know what's going to stick with the clients, right? So are you going to try 20 different concepts? How can you? You don't even have the time. So may mga ganun rin na you have to think about. So having those limitations of kind of knowing what they want helps a lot. You can fight for something new, but again, the reality is there's not enough time to do so. The art form is actually really finding the middle ground of still trying to tell your story, but at the same time, advertising this product, whatever it is.
Yung balance between those. Like, yun itself yun eh.
True.
Yung finding that right balance.
Yeah. And honestly, when I look at like different artists, like when I look at photographers or other directors, ganyan, when I look at their personal library of what they've made, I gravitate to their commercial work more because I know how hard it is to fight for your own vision. So, and I like looking at those because I see no matter how much constraints they had, they still get to do something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of one thing where I get inspiration from, Ren.
And speaking of inspiration, what keeps you motivated?
With directing, I think it's a lot of things. It's a lot of different mediums, Ren, not just video. I love music, so I listen to that, and that inspires a lot, Ren. And watching other directors and how they operate is great, Ren. And actually, since being onboarded with PPC, I got to meet other directors, Ren. So even talking to fellow directors is already a sense of inspiration because you get to know, or you kind of communicate different ways on how you approach a certain brief. Ganyan. So that itself, conversations leads to inspirations for me. I really love talking to people. And this podcast itself, it's something I really enjoy doing because I know whatever we talk about right now will be a sense of inspiration for me with whatever work I do, may it be for video or for music.
Alam naman natin na every career has its ups and downs, right? Were there any significant challenges or turning points in your career that shape you the way you approach your work today?
Yeah, I mean, like, we all felt the load of not having work during the pandemic. So that was a big hurdle to get over, was trying to find ways to make things more efficient. How do you find work when no one's doing work? So all of that. At the same time, Ren, there was a point where one of the biggest hurdles siguro wasn't even that for me. It's the aspect that I actually got burnt out directing. And for me, that was the worst because I wouldn't want to get burnt out directing because it's something that I hold dear. So the fact that I felt that reminded me I might have to take a step back and reevaluate how I'm doing things. And I would say taking that step back was a big eye opener because it kind of showed me the more important things in life than trying to push for this unattainable dream that you have in your head of reaching success at a certain age, and kind of telling yourself that you can allow yourself to slow down a bit. You can allow yourself to do other things. Your whole personality doesn't have to revolve around video. And that was a big turning point for me because at that point, everything about me was film. I didn't have a hobby. When I have conversations, it's always about work. And you don't want to talk to a guy like that. You don't want to talk to a guy everything that he talks about is just about work niya or about video production, because if you're not into that world, then it's a boring conversation to have, diba? And because of that, because I took a step back, it gave me a kind of like a identity crisis where if I take out directing from me, who am I as a person? Like, who is Kani as a person? And that's where I kind of felt lost in a sense because I didn't want to just be a director. And I think that's what taught me to kind of explore other things, do other things that's so far from directing. And the way I approach it now is, what helped me a lot now is, even if I have a busy schedule of doing these commercials, it's important to dedicate pockets of time. May it be just an hour, may it just be 2 hours of you doing something else. May it be, for me, it was rock climbing, bouldering, or Muay Thai, or even making music. For me, having all of those hobbies makes you a well-rounded person compared to just focusing on the grind, because the whole notion of the grind don't stop. But I believe that the grind should stop sometimes.
There's more to life than work, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, can you take me to that moment, no? Yung parang, what was happening in your mind nung time na yun na all of these things are happening to me, pero like, I'm not sure if ano yung gagawin ko.
I think for me, I felt that mostly when I graduated college. Because when I graduated college, my thesis got into good festivals and really big festivals. And as a young person being in those festivals, you would think, nah, I'm the shit. Nah, I'm going to. This is the start of like my success. This is the start of like everything great, which gives you your own pressure. Like parang it's giving you, that's telling yourself na you have to. Everything is uphill from here. But reality is that's not life. Life has its up and downs. It's not supposed to keep on. It's not gonna go up constantly. And for me, I felt that when my film did good, and then nagkaroon ng gap with like work. So because of that gap, made me question everything. Na am I actually good? Is that the best work I've done already so far? Like, will it stop from there? So parang for me, being young and being very, you get caught in your own ego because you would tend to think na I'm the shit. Na parang everyone should hire me. I'm the next big thing that's gonna happen. Ganyan. But I guess the mindset comes in where you shouldn't give yourself that pressure. Like you should keep yourself humble and keep your feet planted constantly. Because that way, when whatever life throws you, you're prepared to handle it. And again, being young and doing all of that definitely took a toll on me then, because I didn't get to experience certain things that a 18-year-old were kind of experiencing rin. Like I would say I stopped. I didn't get to hang out a lot with like my high school friends, ganyan, because I would dedicate more time to being in film shoots rather than picking and choosing the hangouts or picking to go to these hangouts. Of course, those have both effects of the good and the bad. The greatest, it gave me a head start in doing this thing, but I guess the negative is kind of having friends is actually work rin. Na you have to dedicate time for that rin. And that's where I felt it the most, definitely. It's like na after college, and then what do I do from here? Like, am I going to be successful? Like, even the idea of success, I wouldn't believe na I can't consider na I'm successful rin right now, because for me, success is, it doesn't relate to work. I used to believe that. I used to believe, if I get constant clients, if I have a certain, if I'm making certain like levels of production, na if I'm doing certain things that's in the eyes of other people, and that's huge things, that's successful. But what I realize is, like what we were saying a while ago, that there's more things to life than just career. It's about, do you want to have a partner? Do you want to have a life? Like there are those rin na, and I believe those are better successes than quantifying success with your own work, because that can eventually lead to like depression. That can lead to like you trying to make things out of nothing and forcing yourself to do something even though you're not comfortable with it, para lang to reach, quote unquote, your idea of success. This is technically your dream job already, right? Directing, if this is what you've been wanting to do. But everything from here is just going to be a cycle of you getting a new project, you working with other agencies, ganyan. It's going to be constant cycle, and that's for the rest of your life. So if that's going to be your quote unquote 9 to 5, you have the rest of the day to do something else. So it shouldn't be that. I think that's the hard part of like being in the arts in general, is we typically don't have that boundaries of 9 to 5 of I am a corporate worker from this time to this time lang, and after that I could go out, I could party, I could hang out with my friends, ganyan. Because technically we don't operate those in those timelines as well. So in a sense, it becomes a 24/7 kind of job. And then as a director, then it's really important to keep especially what you said with social media being out there, being your most polished self. That's the same way with artists na they need to put themselves out there, because that's what's gonna get them work.
Sure.
And at the same time, you can't put your vulnerabilities out there in social media, because what if your client sees that? What if the agency sees that? And will they hire you still because of that? So there's a lot of things that you have to think about as a artist or as a director when it comes to even the idea of posting. Even though you don't have any followers or anything, it's just the idea of it's so easy to find your name and see what you've been posting. So even that I'm more careful of rin.
Pero how do you balance?
I think it's just there was a point where everything in my IG was like parang about video, about work. But then I don't know, it just looked boring for me because I know that's not me. That's because I'm not my work. So right now I'm just trying to balance it with putting in my hobbies right now. Like I like bouldering, so I've been doing a lot of bouldering contents. I like making music, so I have a bunch of music contents out there. So and just finding the middle ground of like doing all of those and still being true to who you are. That's how I kind of manage social media now. It's like I don't want it to seem perfect, rin. So I just try to post what I treat my contents not to for other people to think differently about me or for them to think na I'm doing all of these things na ganyan. I'm posting it for the sense of I like making contents. Like that's the idea of why I post those in the first place.
Yeah. Do you find it weird na kapag tinanong tayo kung sino tayo, you tend to say after your name, I'm this.
Yeah, true. Diba? It's like kind of weird na
I'm
Kani, I'm a director. Diba? It's like, why do you have to say your occupation?
Yeah.
Diba?
No.
Why can't I say like, I'm Kani, I'm a Sagittarius?
O ano, but never natin yun. Like, I'm
I'm a nice
pescatarian.
person, diba? True. Yeah, that's true. Like, I think naturally we hold weight to our occupations, rin, and people create value to that, which is why the term direct is coined, rin, because people tend to give weight to that. They tend to make it a big deal, rin. Which is, in a sense, rightfully so. If you've done it for a while and you've done your accolades, if you had accolades, then, diba, you should hold it with value, rin.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it shouldn't get to your head. Because I've met people na, they really feel like sobrang like I'm a director, like that persona, like that stereotype na that stereotypical director personification.
Yeah. Parang meron silang level of dapat ito yung respect nyo sa akin.
Yeah, and for me, like, that shouldn't be the case. Like, just respect me as a person.
Yeah.
And that's why on sets, I try my best not to implement a sense of hierarchy. I don't like na, kunyari, iba yung food ng director and the PA. Like, everyone should be eating the same thing. Because I believe when it comes to these sets, it's not a pyramid where the director's on top. It's more of a plane. Everyone's carrying the same weight. If wala yung PA dyan, you can't operate as well. In the same way now, if wala yung director, you can't operate as well. So everyone's holding the same weight in terms of their value. There shouldn't be a notion na mas respected dapat because he's a director, she's a director, ganyan. And I think having that mentality will humble you in a sense because when you transcend in life and you have more successes in this art form, you can keep your feet planted on the ground by having that kind of mindset na you're a nobody. Like you should think na, of course you should think na you're confident. You should have confidence in yourself, but you shouldn't be arrogant. You should keep yourself very humble because that's one way of constantly learning in this craft is to constantly just be a student. Because once you start thinking na you're a master of it, ganyan, you tend to close down your mind and not let anything in. And being a close-minded artist is one of the worst because that means you're just not progressing. Right?
And at the same time, like you don't want the people in the set na ma-intimidate sa'yo.
Yeah, definitely.
Because paano silang pe-perform?
That's
right?
true.
Kung nanginginig sila na sisigawan mo sila pag umabas yung bumpol na yan ng 1 millimeter. Mistakes happens on set, right? Pero like you don't have to be too serious, no?
You don't have to be a douchebag about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keep your feet on the ground, but
Yeah.
your head in the sky.
Exactly. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, let's move on. Meron ka ba mga strategies na that you've used successfully to market your creative ideas and ensure they resonate with both clients and their customers?
Yes. I think I remember one specifically recently. I did this commercial and the market was supposed to be Gen Z. And I'm Gen Z naman. So technically, if you're a director doing a Gen Z material, I think the client will trust more the Gen Z. Diba? So I really heavily leaned on that angle that I'm Gen Z. So we had a face-to-face meeting of me telling the client na what's the concept, ganyan. So I really heavily said na yeah, they were questioning everything, which a client usually does naman because they're trying to just see if it works or not. They told me na will this work, ganyan? Is this something the people will relate to, especially Gen Z because that's our market. At that time they didn't know that I was that young, that I was Gen Z. I told them, nah, yeah, I know, because that's me. I'm the market. If that works for me, then technically that works for the community because I am in that demographic. So in a sense, that's the angle I found within that point. And also it helped because it was a very corporate setting and I was dressed like how I usually dress naman, which is for other people can be classified as Gen Z. So that angle kind of worked in my favor because they believed that I could really mount the project because I could work on it. Kasi I'm the market.
Yes.
So
You
yeah.
see the vision na kasi pag sinabi mong, sino yung target audience nyo? Ako.
Yeah, diba? I'm the target
You're just
audience.
gonna look at yourself.
Yeah. It went great, that meeting, because in a sense, the client kind of put their guards down. Na, we could trust this guy. Na, we know he knows what he's talking about. Like, he knows the culture in a sense. So it was important for me na I was tapped into the culture and I know what's the current events, what's going on. That's where kind of research comes in rin na parang you need to know the latest TikTok trends that's going on because certain things will come up where you have to be constantly updated with what's going on with the current situation of like what's trending right now, what music are the kids listening to, because every brand wants to always be cool and hip. And to be cool and hip, you have to relate to the young, to the youth. That's what I really tapped into for that specific project. Na, yeah, I'm young, but that's the point.
So, leaning on your strengths talaga.
Yeah,
Leaning on your
definitely. And that strength being my youth.
Yeah. Ang weird nun eh. Like, it could come from anywhere talaga eh.
Yeah,
like, you just need to find your own strength eh.
True. And then when you find that strength, or let's say when you feel like you have a certain advantage when it comes to, let's say for that example, na I knew na, because at the start they were kind of they had walls up when it came to that meeting because they didn't know of me, they don't know of my work. At the same time, I looked young, so so why would they trust me? And since the market is within my age range, I really leaned to that, and that taught me a lot of like kind of figuring out where are your strengths and really trying to hone that and trying your best to take advantage of it because it's finding those gaps or those little parts where you could find those little advantages which helps you have an edge then.
And that's basically your unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's only unique to you.
Exactly. I think one more example is one of my last works is we had to do a bunch of parkour stunts, and I don't know parkour, but I do climb and I do boulder, and it really worked in my advantage that I'm within the boulder community. I got to meet like one of the head of like parkour in the Philippines. So being friends with him gave me that advantage. Then I could say na I know this guy. I could get him to be one of our stunt coordinator to fulfill those stunts, and we can make sure we're not trying to rip off a culture that's actually building up right now. Ganyan. So even having that sense of authenticity within your work is really important because it creates an edge for you because they know it's authentic to you.
And it will reflect, no?
Yeah,
Na
definitely.
naturally, like kung susundan mo lang yung instincts mo as a director, supposedly may hit mo lahat ng tamang dots eh.
Yeah.
Like mapagko-connect mo sila eh. And I also love yung isa mo sinabi, knowing your audience. Like kung gaano ka-importante yun.
For me, it's very important because if I know my market is young and I tend to use certain stylistic approaches na shy away from them, then I mean, the logical approach is to not use that stylistic approach. Kasi if you know your audience, it's so easy to kind of tunnel vision what you're trying to do. Because as a commercial director, that is the game itself. Is trying to appeal to your target audience and making sure your target audience appeals to the product rin. So it's your job as a director to kind of find that middle ground of putting the demographic and their influences towards your strategic approach to creating concepts, ganyan, and what could work for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because how will they relate to the
Yeah,
video
exactly.
that you made, right? If it's not something that they would relate to or resonate
Exactly.
to. Right?
And I think one common thing people think about, one common thing people tend to think about right now is they believe the audience are not that smart. They are, and they know what they like. They know what they want, especially with social media right now. That's why it's important to not treat your audience like they're dumb. Because if you treat them like how you would talk to your friend, then in a sense, that would feel more authentic. That's why there's a transcendence of making things feel more organic again and less, what's the term? Parang less scientific.
Well-produced.
Overproduced. Ganyan. That's why the resurgence of like vintage or retro, because people are after something that feels raw. Something that just feels more authentic than making it feel too clean, clinical. Ganyan.
And I think that's the reason then why on social media, no, yung platform na yun really works is because of that level of authenticity na cellphone lang, hindi din sobrang fancy lighting, right?
That's
like,
true.
Pwedeng
That's why TikTok is
labo pa nga eh, right? Pero
exactly.
all it takes is just
A good idea.
Yeah, basically a good idea.
That's my mistake nga before. And when I was venturing out trying to do like short form content, like in TikTok or in IG Reels, siguro my director head was trying to like overproduce everything na the light. We have like a 3-point lighting setup with like 4K cameras and it's graded to the T. Ganyan. Pero it doesn't work because it tends to feel inauthentic. It tends to feel like a commercial, which is not what parang audience are liking towards when they see or what audience would love to watch when they're watching short form content. They want something that's more genuine. They're after that. That's why nga nagka-resurgence of, that's why podcast had a resurgence. It's because people are after just that raw, unfiltered conversations that people used to have before.
Leaning on your strengths, finding, and leaning on your strengths, because it's not easy na mahanap yun at first. It takes time.
Yeah.
Find where you're naturally drawn to.
That's true. I mean, like, that also revolves around finding your voice.
Yeah.
Diba? I think it takes a lifetime to actually find na this is my voice when it comes to directing or whatever art form that may be. I feel like that only comes from those strengths, finding that voice also only comes from having life experiences, which again circles back to why it's important to do other things other than directing or for other people work. Because for my case at least, like how can I tell stories if I don't have any stories to tell? So I need to experience life.
I read this quote from the book Unfair Advantages. Have you read that?
Yeah.
Ganda nun.
Ganda.
Anyway, sinabi niya dun na creativity is just connecting two disparate fields, right? Two different things. So if you don't have anything to connect to because you're just focused on one thing or you're not experiencing life, it's going to be really hard for you to be creative.
Definitely.
Na gets mo din na bakit mo nga talaga kailangan mag-try ng iba't iba.
Yeah.
Kasi those are the things na makakonect mo din, especially when it comes to directing. When it comes to directing, like, you're also reflecting life.
That's true. You're trying to, especially if you're trying to like make like a realistic approach to things, like it's important to know like what does life look like? Like the lens is just an opportunity for you to tell something that already happened.
Since we're talking about the latest ad that you made, it's the Dito Blitz Kavit.
Oh yeah, that's
right?
right.
But you also do music videos. What is the difference for you?
For me, I guess it's like, I mean, the majorly is budget. And I'm not saying that because of pay or talent fees. It's because, right, in this industry, budget dictates how much things you could rent, how much things you could buy in terms of making it look better. So that's the hard part with the music video side, because the budgets right now are good. They're way better than before. But that's where the creative thinking comes into play. Like, how can I do something in the most frugal way possible? How can I achieve this production design setup without spending too much? Because we don't have the luxury that commercials tend to have. Like, we're given, imagine a music video is what, 3 minutes? And usually their budget can only fulfill one shooting day. And then for commercials, you only need to produce something that's worth 30 seconds. But that gives you the entire day run. And the budget is probably times 3 or times 4. So for me, it's, you have a lot of limitations when it comes to music video. But the positive side of it is you have so much creative freedom. As long as it's aligned to what the artist wants to make, you tend to you get to. For me, I really love, one main reasons I love working on music videos. It's like a good artist exercise, or like a directing exercise of trying out something else, of like trying out something that you haven't done yet. And it's like, because right now music videos feels like it's like short films. You can have a narrative approach. You can have a more of a eye candy approach where it's just all glamour shots. So having those, for me, I love making music videos because it gives me an excuse to try something new, which sometimes in commercials you tend to, you're not given that level of opportunity always. So having the arsenal to actually do music videos helps a lot in terms of that aspect of trying something new. Or for me, it's very fulfilling as well because I love music. So in that sense, you kind of can create a vision just based off the track, which is always fun.
I think the last time that you did that is for PlayerTwo ba?
Yes, tama. With
Felip,
yeah.
right? Yung Fly, right?
Yeah.
How was it naman? Like,
Oh, that was fun. That was fun. I love working with guys from PlayerTwo. And so I co-directed that with their creative director, si Ven. And that was a fun experience because I haven't done something that energetic. I haven't done something within the hip-hop genre as well, which is something I really love. I love hip-hop music. I love rap. And not being able to do that for a long time is something that always, like, it's like a missing part of yourself na, I love this music pero never ako nakagawa within the same genre. Ganyan. I've always done ballads. I've always done like pop songs for music videos. But I haven't really tapped into like doing music videos for the hip-hop audience yet. That music video was super fun because it didn't feel like work at all because the playfulness of that environment was great. Like, and honestly, PlayerTwo is such a good. They're amazing to shoot because they bounce off each other's energy, and they were so easy to direct in because whatever you wanted in terms of level of energy or how do you want them to kind of resonate in the camera, they get to do that like, instantly. They're naturally born superstars for me. So seeing them live made me understand that's why they're that good in the music. If they could do that live, could do that in front of the camera as well. And that music video for me was really fun because that was the first music. That was one of my first works this year. Oh no, yeah, tama. That was the first work I've done this year, and that was a good like start of doing something different. And I really love how that turned out because it was generally a simple music video lang. It was just a bunch like five sequences. So it's very short. It goes back and forth, but what made it exciting is all the inputs of my co-director and si Ven of like putting in some CG shots of we put like si Ivo on fire, or we had birds added as in CG because fly. Yeah. So yeah, that was fun. And even like working with Felip, it was very fun because he really knows how he wants to portray in the camera. So having him performing on set was honestly very easy. Even there was a BTS nga nung day na yun, and they interviewed me on the thing I said. I was like, it's very easy to do this job because this job becomes easy if you get to work with people that are a dream to shoot. Like working with those people that knows how to project themselves in camera makes your life a lot easier because especially if they're the artists for their own songs, because they'll just be the authentic levels of who they are, especially if the aspect of the music video is trying to portray them in the most authentic way possible.
And magic happens when everyone in the production team, even the talent, goes into that specific zone na parang they're just having fun.
True, and everyone was like locked in because I treated that like a passion project. I didn't treat it like how I would treat these commercials or which is internally something different talaga. If the way I treated that was I dedicated so much time for that music video, which for me, I would love to dedicate time to anything that I would love making in the first place, which is that mismo. The song was great, so it was my job to just complement that.
It won that award, right?
It got a honorary.
Honorary
selection. Yeah. Imagine for a music video, diba? Like that was crazy. Cause if you would count views as success, then that's good. But like sometimes having, especially people outside of the local market, and seeing that there's value towards your work makes you realize that what you're doing is actually worth globally. For me, at least, I always have big dreams of transcending the local market and actually having appeal internationally. And that was a good sign, like having that honorary selection.
For it to be recognized, must really mean something na, okay, this somewhat proves a standard that what we're doing is good for the world.
That's true. Yeah, because sometimes you get closed into your own community that you kind of deviate yourself and you make yourself feel like this is what I'm doing good enough in terms of internationally what people are actually doing outside of the Philippines. It's like a good eye opener rin na it made me feel na everything is worth doing because what we're doing doesn't just allow me to be known just here in the Philippines, but potentially internationally rin. Like whatever doing here is something at par with what everyone else is doing, which is good because being in a third world country, you kind of feel that way rin. Am I limiting myself too much here? We have enough resources to make things that other people from different countries would parang make rin. All of that.
Looking back at these projects, is there anything you would approach differently today?
I don't know if I would because both turned out I kind of wanted in a sense, and like with Fly, for me, I don't see that. I don't see how we could do that differently. I was proud, specifically, I'll go one by one, but with Fly first, that we had limited resources for that one, and it turned out to look good. And for me, that's one thing that I was proud of. At the same time, for me, what fulfills me whenever I do music videos is the artist loves the music video. So the fact that PlayerTwo enjoyed the music video, they enjoyed the experience, for me, that's already telling na, okay, I'm proud of that. Because for me, that as long as I get to represent your song well, then that's the end goal for me. That's as long as you're happy with it as the artist. Because for me, whenever artists make songs, diba, it's something they really hold dear. So it's your job to make sure not to misrepresent that as a director making these music videos. You don't want to be the reason why the song is not good. Diba? So it's your job only is to be like a visualizer. A visualizer to the track mismo. So that's what I felt with the FLYYY music video. And I believe we got to do that in that sense. And with the commercial that we shot recently, with that one, there were a couple of hiccups because, again, we were doing stunts. So that it's hard to shoot stunts, especially sa Philippine heat and shooting it outside. So, but I wouldn't see how we could have done it differently. But one thing I was really proud of is, number one, no one was injured because the stunts were crazy on that shoot rin. Like, they were jumping over different things, ganyan. And we got professionals, of course, but still, like, you not knowing that, like, the level of stunts that people are used to doing, you are always, every take, I'm always scared that there's something might go wrong. Because I wouldn't want anyone to be hurt in the first place. So that's one thing I'm proud of, and no one got hurt.
Yeah.
Because how I approached that shoot was, because tendencies whenever you approach these shoots, there's so much takes, ganyan, because of little minuscule details of like, the logo was not seen, ganyan. And one good decision that we've done, and one thing I was proud of actually na we've done there was, so the different parkour people were carrying boxes that had the Dito logo. We realized that if there was an actual Dito logo there, the parkour athletes might overthink trying to show the logo too much. So all of the Dito logos that were there in the boxes were added in post. So that was one good decision. I think it was the PM who thought about it. It's just like, oh, that's very smart. We should actually do that instead of them holding the Dito logo and masking that out and adding the Dito logo back in. Pero yun. And so that was good. But for me, like, whenever I go to like the malls, and like recently I went to Mega Mall and I saw the Dito store and seeing the commercial there. There's just something different. You get to see your work physically instead of like seeing it on your own phone, seeing it on a TV, ganyan. But seeing it in like a public setting, there's a sense of parang, I'm proud of this work. It looks good pala. Which sometimes you tend to forget na looking back at your works and appreciating na your work is actually good. That's important because that gives you need to give yourself value. You need to tell yourself that you're actually, what you're doing is actually worth looking at. It gives you a sense of belief that you just keep on doing these things. Because sometimes it gets, whenever you're doing so much work, you forget to smell the roses. Which is very important to kind of like sit back, look at it again for a while and realize na, ganda pala nito.
And that's why it's really important to define what success is to you. I can only imagine what was the parang first thought that comes into your mind nung nakita mo siya on a big scale. Like, for sure, medyo malaki yun.
Yeah,
no?
It's kind of big. For me, it was wild because parang if you've done this for a while, you tend to disassociate yourself with your work and you tend to get desensitized whenever you see a targeted ad hit you, even if it's your own work. Ganyan. Na parang, you tend to parang relate it to just being work. Ganyan. Or you tend to relate it to something that doesn't have any merit. Pero seeing it in person, like, it allowed me to like step back and be like, and I was with my mom and my wife friend when we saw it. Okay.
Ano sabi ni mom?
Like, it's kind of, she really loved it. I mean, she loved the commercial to begin with. Pero when she saw it in person, parang nagpa-picture pa siya, ganyan.
Ang cute. Nakpicturean mo ako. Baliktad na ngayon.
Pero it's like parang seeing it in person was kind of crazy kasi, and that's gonna be there for a while.
Yeah.
Because that's the rolling ads. It's gonna be one of their commercials for their main push right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Actually, hanggang ngayon nakikita ko pa siya.
Yeah, I get hit always.
Ang galing na to market na. Well, so totoo lang. Pero ang galing din. Yun din ako believe sa mga marketers. Like, ang galing talaga nila nga mag-target.
That's true.
Weirdo ka ba? Minsan may sinasabi ka tapos lumalabas na sa phone may ad.
Yeah.
Like, kaya talaga tayo nun.
They're all listening. You know what's funny? Alam mo, to circle back to yung past commercial na yun. You know that was, yung commercial na yun was very effective because our stunt coordinator, the day or the week after, nagpa-install nandito. So at least we know the commercial works, di ba?
Mabilis naman daw ba? Mabilis. Blitz kabit.
Blitz kabit talaga.
Okay, sige. Let's move forward. You have this unique ritual of lighting an incense before a shoot. What's the story behind this one?
I think it started with my wife kasi she's the one that got me into incense. So we're big on like energy, spirituality, and all of that. And I don't know, sets tend to sometimes stink. Minsan, there's something with incense that makes you instantly calm or relax. I don't know if it's because it smells good or it smells like a temple. Diba? When you go to Thailand and diba, their temple smells like incense, ganyan, or Bali.
Hindi kami nag-temple nun eh.
Anyways, going back, like with it instantly for me, like parang I started doing it whenever I had meetings, online meetings. So I was doing that there, and then I always want the set to kind of be a calm place. I always want the set to be very serene in a sense because being relaxed allows you to do better things, and having no pressure or no weight on your shoulders allows you to create things freely. Even though you have so much limitations again for like the work, it allows you to create freely because your head is relaxed. And I want everyone to feel that. Even though there's a small chance of people being relaxed with the incense, at least there's still that percentage that I could give them. That sense of like making them feel at least relaxed. So that's the main reason why I do it. Is I want, and also parang for me, the set then smells nice na. Like parang having a nice smelling set is always like great because it's like whenever you enter a hotel, the first thing diba you do is like, ay, ang bango ng hotel na to, diba? And then your mood is instantly lifted na, oh, it's nice siguro to stay here. And I don't want people to associate sets with something that's stressful, something na it's gonna be tiring, because it is stressful and it is tiring. But if you can create an environment for them to make it feel like it's a place where they want to be in, then that's always great because that will be, it will make them ultimately relax. So that's the main purpose of me why I do it. I just want them to feel, or I want the crew members, all the teammates to feel like we're just here to have fun, basically. Not to kind of disassociate the work, quote unquote work aspect to that.
And it's also important din, as for you, like as a director, to have a calm state.
Yeah, true.
Especially, kasi when it comes to commercial directing, pag nandun na sa shoot, parang pasan mo din yung mundo eh.
Yes.
Basically as a director, kasi niisip mo kung ano yung overall nangyayari. So parang kailangan you have this bird's eye view on everything. And at the same time, putting yourself into another position na, okay, ito yung vision ng project, ito yung gagawin ko ngayon, kailangan lumabas yung mga kailangan ko.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So parang kung hindi ka nandun sa state na yun, it's really going to be hard for you to trust your vision.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. That's why I don't believe in the aspect of like sigawan sa set, or I don't believe in the aspect that you have to necessarily shout to make it in a angry way to make a person move faster, ganyan, because it really doesn't do anything. Like, there's already pressure on set. It's like for me, I would describe sets kasi like a hot kitchen. Like whenever we see it, diba, like in TV or whenever we go to a restaurant, diba, there's intense pressure there where everything is timed to the T. Ganyan. It has to be done perfectly or we have to do it again. Diba? That's how foods are done. So, diba, if hindi siya naluto ng tama, tapon, make a new one. And that's how I handle takes. Ganyan. So whenever we do a take, we have to rush to do another one. So that's why I would really relate it to a hot kitchen. So that's which ultimately describes it as having so much pressure on it.
Yeah.
So if you can take off the load, take off the pressure from people, then that would make it ultimately easier for people to start creating or even just love being there. Because if everyone is happy doing their job, isn't that a better environment and everyone like dreading the work and para making them feel like, I want to leave already this set, ganyan. Kaya sa akin, comfortability on set, parang that's the main thing I need because I never want anyone to feel uncomfortable there. May it be respect, may it be the physical aspect of just not being comfortable. Like I want it to be very comfortable because if it's not, then it's gonna be a harder environment to work in.
Yeah. Siguro yun nga, parang hindi ka lang din director talaga. Somewhat you're kinda are a leader.
Yeah, definitely. No? The way I would describe being a director, like having an analogy for it, is like it's like a conductor. Because like in conductor, diba sa orchestra, and then your job as conductor is to make sure everyone is on beat. And that's how I believe directing is. Because you're not working with people, you're working, or just like parang people doing their jobs, but you're working with artists and their own art forms, diba? May it be sa cinematography, production design. So your job there is to just make sure everyone's aligned, everyone's in the same vision, ganyan. Because that will make the music sound good. And in our sense, that will make the video come out really good. Because people sometimes parang operate it like a army where captain sila and soldiers yung mga ano. Pero I don't know, I don't agree. I mean, maybe if you run your set like that, then sure. Pero for me, I don't agree with that analogy because that makes it feel like they have to listen to you out of a commanding figure rather than you respect them as an artist. Talaga.
And at the same time, everyone on the set has a credit.
Yeah, has a contribution.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Totoo.
Regardless kung siya man yung nag-aayos nung food for the crew, right? Everyone has a role na kung titingnan mo in a sense, hindi mangyayari to kung wala din yun specifically yung person na yun.
Exactly.
What do you hope to achieve in the future?
For me, it's like not necessarily achieve something, but I want to be able to do this work for a long time. Like that's my main goal with it. Because I know, like I don't really look at parang bagging an award or bagging a certain accolade with it. But I want longevity. I want to be able to do this or direct until I can. Just for me, I want it to last my lifetime. And my main goal as an artist is to be able to contribute further than making the art itself. Like I want to be able to help other artists to do a better job in their work or inspire other people. That's where my goals lie. Like is to basically, I just want to educate and inspire as much as I can rather than trying to get an award. I think that's what fulfills me more. Like I think what I enjoy the most is whenever I get to help someone and they get success from that advice you gave them or that little help you gave them. For me, that creates more weight for myself. That makes me feel better.
The goal is not to win the game. The goal is to keep playing the game as long as it takes.
That's true.
Right.
That's for me. Like parang if I could, right now I found a way to make it feel sustainable because you should be able to do this work and still find a life or still have life to do. So doing it and having sustainability in an industry that lacks sustainability is one of my goals, is to just keep on doing this until I'm old and gray.
Are there any upcoming trends or shifts in the industry that you find particularly exciting or concerning?
I think nothing concerning naman.
Nothing concerning.
But what I find exciting right now is I know when I started directing when I was very young, I had a lot of negative words said to me na parang masyadong bata ka pa, or you shouldn't do this kasi wala ka pa masyadong nagawa, or you shouldn't even be called a director kasi you're this young, ganyan. But right now, I think we've recognized that works naman. Like parang your age doesn't determine your value. Your age doesn't determine the capabilities of mounting something, but your talent does. And for me, the trend of like believing in kids, believing in the youth, in their art forms and their artworks is something that I really love seeing right now, because right now everyone's young in terms of the art industry, which is great. I mean, it's a mix. It's a mix between people, the veterans and the young people. Before, you just see veterans doing this thing, but right now I like seeing it's getting younger. And another trend is what I love is like the fact that I don't know, there's more respect in the industry right now when it comes to sets, because I came as a PA, I experienced certain sets that were a little bit toxic, na very toxic masculinity in a sense na kasi it's full of guys rin. So in a sense na the way they talk about girls or the way that they handle sets and parang belittling certain people is something I really don't fuck with. So seeing ngayon how people are more careful or just a little bit more respectful is something I'm excited for. It will just make work way more fun than just dealing with like unnecessary toxicity.
So mas ano na tayo ngayon, no? Parang mas friendly na
I would
environment.
believe so. Yeah, I would
no?
believe so.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet there's still like certain sad environments na ganon, and that's their way of doing things. Pero I'm happy that at least the ones that I'm part of are respectful. And actually, maybe one fun thing is actually one of the trend I'm seeing right now is people are after authenticity more than anything right now, because they care more about you doing the work and how you're doing it more than just you following a trend. Because the trends fade. But if you get to find your own voice, you tend to find your own style. It's like fashion. Like trends in fashion fades. But if you get to learn what's your own personal style, that shit lasts you. That will last a decade. That will last forever. I feel like people right now are finding value in figuring out their personal style when it comes to their artistic approach to things.
Sabi nga nila, it's better to be different than better.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Narinig ko kanina sabi mo, you always be a student of the game.
Yeah.
Is that how you keep yourself grounded?
Yeah, like I would never consider myself to be like a master of this, even though I try to teach other people about it. I learn from the people that I teach too, rin. Because thinking of yourself as a student within this industry will automatically help you realize that there's more things to learn about it. At the same time, if you look at yourself as a student in a industry that keeps on evolving, that keeps on changing, it means you're gonna be adapting to the different evolutions that will happen within the space. Just look at when I started out, there wasn't a Sony camera that could shoot practically at night, diba? But right now, we're seeing this evolution of cameras that's constantly getting better and better. So that's just the cameras, pero the art form itself is already developing new stylistic approaches. So constantly being a student just opens your mind to all of these new ideologies coming in, new stylistic approaches, even the evolution of tech within the space, or even how to use AI within your space that doesn't feel like it's replacing anything. That's why for me it's very important to just have that kind of mindset, because a student is basically a listener. And if your job is already about talking or communicating something, sometimes you need to take a step back to actually listen to other things.
How do you get better at this craft?
I think one way to just get better is to just constantly educate yourself. And right now we're in a day and age where that's very accessible. Everything is online. But I would say, since everything is already online and you can learn the technicals, all of that, anyone can be technically great already. But what will set you apart to be better is to actually know yourself more. Because your job as an artist is to make sure your voice is heard. But how can you put out your voice if you don't know what your voice sounds like yet? So that's why it's important to go through life, experience these things. May it be love, may it be dealing certain things with families, may it be traveling, trying to know more about other cultures. That's what's going to make you a better artist. That's what's going to make you a better individual, because we are a collection of our inspirations. So if you get to have a lot of inspirations, a lot of these stories told to you, or a lot of these stories that you could live in, will allow you to actually say something that's different from other people.
What advice would you give to aspiring creatives who's looking to make their mark in the industry right now?
I think my main advice is just to not pressure themselves, because there's already going to be pressure from the outside world, your clients, social media, friends, families, ganyan. So if you can remove internal pressure of trying to do something and achieve it in a certain timeline, that will just give your focus towards just doing this because you love doing it, instead of doing this for, I need to be successful at 30, or I have to be a television director for like at a certain age, parang ganyan. So if you remove all of those expectations for yourself, you can create now freely.
That's why it's really important na hindi mo i-base yung success on the outcomes.
Yeah.
But sabi nga nila na like, yung process, fall in love with the process.
Yeah, exactly.
Because di mo kasi control yung outcome eh.
That's true. Anything will happen, especially in sets, diba? Like, you don't know whatever's gonna happen.
Yeah. True. Alam mo, the more na pinag-usapan niya, the more alam mo, parang mas naiintindihan mo siya na deeper level.
Yeah,
In
that's
some
true.
way. And I find it really interesting why people say that.
Yeah.
Because somehow, no, like, di mo pa fully nagigets, pero like, yeah, parang tama nga yun. Parang tama nga sila.
If you get to learn to enjoy like the process of whatever your work is, whatever you're doing, that will allow you to not get burnt out. Kasi if you love the process itself, that means you love the work.
Yes.
Diba? And the process won't feel like you're doing work. Because ultimately, to last long in this industry, you should find a way to make yourself feel happy while doing this. Diba? And if you love the process in itself, then whatever the outcome may be, diba? So be it.
Narinig ko to kay Naval Ravikant. Sabi niya, do things that looks like work to others but feels like play to you.
Yeah, true.
Feel ko everyone owe it to themselves to find that thing.
Yeah, that's true. Also, like, yung one thing I read is, if it's not work, then you still need to find that with something else.
Exactly.
Like, if you feel like, because like at the end of the day, aren't we all just trying to find our purpose in life of what we want to do? If that's not related to work, because it doesn't have to. Like, your work is just your work. It's just to feed you. You don't have to create pressure. Na it's what's gonna make you feel like fulfilled in life, which is currently what I'm personally exploring as well. Like, I'm trying to find things that makes me feel something rather than putting all of that to work. Because if walang work, then you're gonna feel dead inside, diba? So it's important to kind of find eggs in different baskets and put yourself in situations where you get to explore this feeling without it being about work.
All right. Sige, last question ko. How do you define success in the creative industry that we're currently right now, no? And has that definition evolved over time?
I think for me, I defined success differently when I was younger. I defined success na if I could direct certain levels of production, like a higher caliber production and then higher budgets, ganyan. But where I'm at right now is where I technically achieved that. I get to direct for these bigger prod houses, get work with bigger budgets than before when I was younger. But if that's a definition of success for me, still, that means I'm already successful. But I don't feel that. Right now, I define success with being able to create and being able to live my life at the same time. Because it is a privilege to be able to work and still have a life. So the way I would define success for myself and my dreams, my goals, is just to do the work for me, just create and just find time to do other things that makes you feel fulfilled. What I'm after more is fulfillment rather than success. Because success, again, is just something that will fade. But if you feel fulfilled, that means it's something that you're passionate with.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, especially our first episode. Guys, palakpakan naman natin si Kani for giving us this opportunity, no? Parang buena mano. Diba? Buena mano natin si Kani. Direk, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me then.
So before we go, no, can you share what's next for you?
But yeah, basically, it depends on when this will come out. But I'll be dropping a single called All Night. I'll be dropping on August 30th. So if this comes out afterwards, check it out. It's on Spotify. So stream it on all stream platforms. It's funny that I'm advertising music. But yeah, with terms of directing, let's see when this will be out. So certain projects might be out that time rin. And if you want to work with me, if you're a client, reach out to my IG at Kani Villaflor or shoot me an email. All my details are in my bio anyways. Or reach out to PPC Directors Agency. They're my rep.
Right, so guys, so if you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends. And if you've got something from it, leave a comment below. Would really help us make this show even better. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, and remember, what's behind the scene drives what's next. Keep creating.